You want to say something about?
Sure. Well, welcome. This is the discussion for Vermont PBS and Kellogg-Hubbard's Indie Lens PopUp in Football We Trust. And we've just watched the film, and now we're going to have some discussion about the film with the audience. I'm Chuck Pizer. I'm the Community Engagement Director for Vermont PBS.
My name is Mark Murnyak. I'm the head football coach at Norwich University.
My name is Jarrett Bowie. I'm a Americorps VISTA volunteer serving at the Kellogg-Hubbard Library.
And with that, let's ask you, as really the expert here, if you would give your comments about what you liked about the film, what resonated with you, what you thought maybe the film was lacking, that type of thing, and your general reaction.
I think that when you look at young people today, there's a ton of pressure on them to be successful, particularly in this culture. And that success is linked to money. And oftentimes it's really difficult for them to deal with that pressure and find ways to channel that. Becomes more and more difficult for, and it's not, I don't think it's unique. I think it's all young people. They deal with that pressure a lot. And one of the things that we try to do is make sure that they feel worth in themselves. They're working towards something that matters to them and it's important to them. We use the game as a vehicle to get them beyond the game. So one of the things that we really do is really give them opportunities to tell us what's important to them and what matters to them. I think there's a ton of things that the game can do for young people. I think it's really, really important that we teach them a lot of life lessons through the game. But it's not about playing in the NFL. I think that the lessons that you gain from it are extremely valuable, but I think that having the outcome be it's this or nothing kind of makes things very difficult, puts pressure on young people that they really don't know how to deal with. It's kind of the way I feel.
I personally, I really like the film. I agree with your point of it really emphasizes how much pressure is on them. And football in the community that I grew up in, coming from Atlanta, Georgia, it was extremely popular, and just no denying that. If you weren't cheering for UJA, you weren't doing something right. But in this movie, there seems to be a lot more emphasis put on this is your future. This is your one path. And without football, then what else is there? Personally, I was never very good at the sport, but something my coach emphasized and always laughed at was, what do you take away from that that's not the sport itself? You may not play, and knowing me, and he openly said you aren't going, you're a professional with this, but what lessons do you learn aside from that? And kind of taking a step back and saying, what do you take from this game? I think there are definitely a lot of things that are definitely taught from this game. They talked about camaraderie, working together. I think that's a huge thing to take out of it.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think that they can use the game as a positive to keep those young people engaged, keep them out of gang-related activities, drugs, whatever it may be. So I think that they could, if they use it in that form, and they use it as an outlet and a way to teach and help these young people grow, as opposed to, just like you mentioned, as the path to success. If you don't make it to the top, then you're not successful. And I think that that's when it turns from being extremely positive and important to having pressure put on you. And I think that it completely changes the way that they think about it. I think as I look back, like that, it's a popular game. It's kind of America's game, and there's so much media attention that's put on it. Kids grow up, they're playing in the backyard, they all have dreams and sometimes aspirations of playing in the NFL, and they want to be this guy and they emulate this person and they want to do that. And it's okay to have those dreams, but we have to really educate them on the reality of it. It's a very small percentage. Very few people are talented enough and have that opportunity to do that. So I think that what's really important for our game is to continue to use it as a vehicle to help these young people grow and learn life lessons.
But what's amazing is the percentage of that population, however, that actually has reached the pinnacle and made it into the NFL. I look at it and I see just a tremendous pressure placed on kids. Young kids who, almost the weight of the world is put on them. In an urban setting, you see it in high school where in many African American communities, the ticket out is getting the scholarship to college, sometimes in football, sometimes certainly in basketball in urban areas. And just that pressure, that is the way to success, and then to the NBA, the NFL. You also see it in a whole host of other sports, the pressure on kids. If you're a swimmer, then the pinnacle is the Olympics, or if you're a boxer, whatever the different sports. And it's intriguing because, in a way, when we look at an immigrant population, the path to assimilation becomes through different ways. In the wave generations ago, to the Irish, it may have been through politics. Today, maybe sports becomes how people actually view themselves as being completely assimilated. And then such a high quest of, the NFL, or you failed.
Yeah.
And these very large families were waiting for him to make it, to see if any of us make it.
Yeah, and probably because of the percentages that you just mentioned, it adds even more pressure. Mm-hmm. And these men that have made it, Troy Polamalu, these are the guys that have to go back to these communities and educate the adults in these situations about the expectations of and the realities of making it at that level. We saw Isaac and Hema say that, and not just making it, but being able to stay at that level becomes increasingly difficult. So I think it's just seeing them on there and hearing their voices is a great way to educate. I think probably the parents of these young men more than anything else, and the families of these young men more than anything else. But I understand that the cost of higher education and the opportunity to get scholarships that are present. And if there's a way that we could find someone to pay for it, then I think that we would all be interested in doing that. And this is the way for them. Now there are academic scholarships out there as well. And for us, it's a little bit different. We're at the Division III level, and this is really at the highest end of football. We don't give football scholarships. Our scholarships are given on merit in their academic performance. So when we go in and talk to student athletes, yes, we want them to be good players, but these coaches are looking for long-term investments. They want these players to be able to handle the academics. They want them to be students. They want them to come from good families because they're making an investment in them too. So I really think that just people need to be educated about the recruiting process and how it all works probably.
At Norwich, since it's not urban, here we are in Vermont, and we don't have a large Polynesian community here. Do you see the tremendous pressure on your students, your athletes in football, because it is different than what we saw in the film?
They do have pressure, but one of the things that we really work hard on is your football can be part of the reason why you choose us and why you're looking at us. It's something that you hope to continue. You want it to be part of your education. But for us, it's always about finding, well, what else besides that? So we're always working really hard, and obviously for Norwich, oftentimes it's a military career.
Right.
So that, with football, it could be a particular major that you're looking at that we have that is specific. So we're always trying to make sure that it's something other than football. Now, that's not to say that it's not important to them. And that's not to say that they don't want it to be a big part of it. And it's going to be. Like the demands, it consumes time. It's time consuming for them. And I think what I see more of is the pressure to be the starter, the pressure to be the best player on the field that day, or the pressure to be the best player in the conference, or whatever it may be. So I think for the players that I deal with, that pressure is really about being the best player. So, but it's we do have players from all over the country who are and different backgrounds. We actually had a young man who was Matt Wilfanula from New Jersey, from Brick, New Jersey, that played for us. He's playing rugby now. So he came from the Polynesian community, had that background. But those young men are bringing with them their culture and their background and whatever it may be, and it's our job to make sure that they understand that what we're doing here is going to have an impact on them later. So we really make it about after, what you do after here, and we've really made them think that, change the way they think about what they're doing.
And think about their future.
Absolutely.
And not just playing football now and how exciting it is, but what their future will be.
No question.
It seems that there's a very, to me at least, it strikes me there's a very big distinction between Division III and Division I, big-time college football in terms of, I mean, I assume the players you're recruiting aren't expecting to be on national TV or to have a high likelihood of going to the NFL. But so when you recruit, I mean, are you talking to students who may be considering a Division I option? I mean, do you ever run into that situation where you're trying to coach somebody to make more of a
Typically
ball choice as opposed to a football choice?
Within the past 10 years, recruiting has really changed, and those young men are just getting evaluated sooner and sooner. The one young man, they said that he had gone to camps all over the country, Los Angeles, Miami. These young people are involved in these camps, and they're being evaluated by college coaches at a much younger age. And the scholarship opportunities are happening a lot younger and a lot earlier. So typically by the time we get into our heavy recruiting, all of that stuff is done already. So
it's a sorting out process.
that has already happened at that point too. So you walk that fine line, and of course we want the tallest and the heaviest and the fastest and the best at each position. And it's still, for us, we still compete, and I think that's part of teaching them, and I think that's a valuable lesson for them to learn, regardless of what they do after. So when it is about winning and losing, so the better player that you're able to recruit, the better coach we all are. So you're still going after the best possible player that you can, but everything has to fit. I think the recruiting process is more of a matchmaking process. People have to be comfortable with each other, and they have to be able to trust each other. Because in reality, I'm not making the decisions. The coaches at the college level aren't making the decision as to who plays at the next level. Their outcomes, what they've been able to do, might get them drafted, but it's really up to the NFL teams of whether they stay or not. And so, but our recruiting process, by the time we get in the game, that stuff has kind of already sorted itself out.
So you talked about, you mentioned earlier kind of looking at each player as a long-term investment, especially given the division and essentially the ethos of the school itself. So I kind of want to ask, kind of touching back to the movie, connecting that to the movie, they talked about one of the characters, Behe, as the heart and soul of the team. Are there any of those moments as a coach where you see that player and say, yes, that's what I wanted to see. That's the kind of person that, yes, I knew I did it. They're doing what I wanted to see. Can you kind of talk more about those pride moments when you see the players truly come into themselves, not just as a football player, but also as a person? Do you ever have those moments? Kind of talk about
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's and again, like I want to make sure that we still compete, and it is about winning and losing. But beyond that, what we try to do is leadership development. We are training these men for situations. How do you handle adversity? How do you, and sometimes even more difficult is, how do you deal with success? I think sometimes teaching these young men how to deal with success is more difficult than how do you handle adversity. But through the game, we try to put them in situations where they will learn and they will grow. And we're always trying to challenge them, set goals, and really get them to do. My greatest satisfaction comes when they accomplish something that they didn't think that they could, and you know, we really challenge these young men to grow and to be better, and I think that it's really important. I think we need young people that will compete.
Mhm.
I think we need young people that understand how to handle success and deal with adversity and be a good teammate and be a good member in the community and all of those things that the game can teach you. I think that this country needs that. And it's okay for it to be that. And it doesn't have to be anything beyond that, but it's just the big stage, the money, and really the media attention that you get. You know, I think it takes away from why are you playing? Like, for those, the question I would like to ask is, why do you play this game? And, you know, for a lot of students, there's a lot of different reasons. And obviously, some to get a scholarship. Well, I think if that's the reason why you're playing it, I think you really have to evaluate that. If that comes along, then I think that's great. But I think that you have to really take a look and ask, why is it you're doing what you're doing, and really get them to answer that question.
One of the things that I really liked in the movie was the camaraderie of the football team, and when they were doing the Polynesian chanting together. And do you have exercises that you do at Norwich to promote the camaraderie?
Yeah, absolutely. And then a lot of the stuff they do now is unique to their generation that they do together, and I think that's really important. And it gives them opportunities to express themselves, and I really like that, and they need to be able to sometimes tell each other how they feel about each other in a way that's unique for them, and I think that part of it's really important. But student athletes do. It's usually for our team, we usually see it through dance in some way, shape, or form. But I think it's awesome opportunities for them to express themselves.
I like that. The other thing that I see that's really valuable in football is that you have leaders within the team, and that's such an important thing to have, as both leaders in the team and people listening to the leaders, so that they're a cohesive team. And those skills are transferable in the rest of their lives. So.
No question. And I think that having had the opportunity to go through practices and go through a season and have a career, there are just so many things that happen that are teachable moments that you can't simulate. And putting them in positions and having opportunities to go through those, learn from them, and probably most importantly, giving them opportunities to make a mistake and grow from it and move forward is extremely, extremely valuable. They learn people learn from making mistakes, and do it within the framework of a team where people care about you, and you can move forward, and they're gonna help you, and you're gonna have to do the same thing
Right.
to a teammate too. I think those teachable moments are extremely valuable for young people to have.
As a football player yourself, playing high school, college, coaching, what was your experience going through, both for yourself as well as teammates? Did you play with teammates who, everyone aspires to be the best, but did you play with people who aspired to make the NFL?
Yeah, well, I think at one point we all probably thought we were better than what we were. But
So
reality at some point sets in, and it's that moment where you say, I'm not playing in the NFL. I'm not good enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm not strong enough. But it never really diminished what the game meant for me. I played it because I enjoyed the competition. I liked the strategy. I loved that it was physical. So I played it for those reasons. And I think that as you get into high school and as you start practicing and training, and then you start setting goals, and you really start playing, like you mentioned, teammates, and you're doing it with them and for them. And my job is to do this so that we can win. I think that really became a unique part of the game for me that was pretty special. Working towards something collectively and with no guarantees at the end of it became a pretty important part of the game for me. And same thing we try to do with our students too is you tell me what you want. You tell me what your goals are. You tell me when people look at this team what they want them to think of you. What's important to you? What matters to you? Who do you want to be? What do you want to look like? And really have them come up with it. Have them be the ones, have them establish a culture and really decide what is it that's important to us. And then coming up with, and they all know it, like all of our students, they'll tell you what they need to do, but those are the action steps. Now we have to sit down and we have to talk about the things. If this is what you want, these are the things that you have to do in order to get there. And then being able to hold each other accountable for that is the process part of it. So we really get our players involved with that part of it, because the games are such a small percentage. It's basketball, you play. That's what you do. In football, you practice. you practice it for one game a week in one moment. So we really have to get the kids to enjoy the process of it.
One other aspect of football, that I like is it's a community activity. So at Norwich University, you have many community people coming to watch, and they may have no connection to any of the players.
Right.
But it's a community activity, and I know that, I have friends that go to Norwich to watch the games,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's hockey, football, and so it gives the community pride as well.
Yeah. And growing up, I went to a regional high school in central Pennsylvania, and that's what it was there too. On Friday night, that's what you did. And you went there because that was the team. And, you may or may not have had a son or daughter involved in some way. The band, the spirit squad, the team, whatever it may be, but you're exactly right. I think it really brought people together.
What they do on Saturday? The football game was on Friday and it's once a week. What they do on Saturday?
Well, in high school we played on Friday. In college we play on Saturdays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we play. We play our games on Saturday, but in high school they were on Fridays.
I did know nothing about football. Everybody in my high school was tiny, and we had no football team, and they wouldn't bother explaining anything to me, and I was much too small. I would be the football. And they didn't like that. I had nothing to do with it. I can understand they camaraderie in business, but the rules make absolutely no sense to me. Nobody's bothered to explain them to me. We played soccer and they wouldn't explain that to me either. This ball is coming towards me. What do I do now? And you kick it with your toe. And in soccer, I just read like a month ago that you don't kick a soccer ball with your toe. You kick it with this. Well, how come they didn't bother telling me that 40 years ago? It might have been something good. Yeah, there's other sort of thing that lousy coaches who were, I don't know, they got teachers who would work the cheapest, which is not necessarily the best people. We paid them, I don't know, $6,000, $7,000 a year, which it was even lousy then. And it's just, anyway. It's interesting learning about something else.
Yeah.
I know you're fat, all excited about football. I just can't see why, personally, I can't see why people in Georgia, I mean, they're all, if you don't, it's a religion, but I can't,
Can I kind of, so the year that I played football, it was the first year my school got a football team. It was my sophomore year of high school. And so I watched football. It was, again, my family watched UGA, right? If you didn't, then you didn't really have too much of a choice. My uncle and some of my family. But playing, before that year, I'd always felt so about playing. Didn't personally know the thrill of it. But then there was, again, I wasn't the best at it. There was something about going to practice, learning the plays, learning where I fit on that team, learning that, hey, it's not just about my individual performance. I used to wrestle. Wrestling is all about how you are as one person. Yeah, sure, the other person, your friend, can be fantastic, but him being fantastic doesn't matter. You being not so good in wrestling doesn't matter. In football, if the person next to me does X and I am not there to compliment what they do, then there's an effect on the person on the other side of me and the person behind me. There's something about the fact that all of us coming together on that Friday night, people are screaming and cheering. You feel a well of pride for, this is who I'm with, not only my team. You might not necessarily like all the people on your team, but hey, they're there with you. They're there in that moment, playing with you. there's the people who, there's your friends in the stands, there's people in the community in the stands watching you play. And to win as a unit, that's a thrill. There is nothing sweeter than a victory won, knowing that you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into that. And not only you were part of it, but everyone else. So,
Well, good.
that is, I think that is the true thrill of football, aside from the physical and rules and stats. But that, I think, is the heart of it.
The whole school I went to were all French Canadians, and they hate that teamwork stuff. They're always fighting
Well.
against each other.
Final comments?
More than a comment, I just want one final question. This film, is this a film that you would recommend to your players?
Absolutely. I mean, for us, it's, let's think about why you play this game and the benefits that it has for you and what you can take away from it. I think our program, the players in our program, have made the priority is about what they do after Norwich. And while we're there, we're going to try to win as many games as we can together. We're going to try to get better. We're going to try to improve. And we're going to go through and we're going to learn life lessons that are going to benefit them when 10 years from now, 15 years from now. So I think that when you look at the game and the value that it brings, I think that it's really important that everybody keeps in mind it's about providing teachable moments that are really going to benefit these young people later.
Awesome.
I definitely like this. I watched this film. This is the third time I've seen this. And it's always good to tell a wonderful story. And even if you don't know much about football, if you know that the people that wear pads line up and hit each other, it's seeing what this means to them. What role does this play in their lives? And I agree, it's in the sense of what can this game mean? What are the greater lessons? What does this mean for their future? I definitely recommend this movie.
Excellent.
Do you know when it's going to be shown on Vermont PBS?
Offhand, no. I'd have to look it up. I'm sorry, I didn't check before I came. I think it's in early February.
Great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Well,